Today I'm going to be taking you through an advanced mat work session. It'll be about 45 minutes long. All you'll need is a very small pillow or a folded towel for a little bit of comfort when we land on our back. And I'm going to get you warmed up in a standing position first. So coming to your mat, standing with your toes pointing forwards, hip distance apart, I'm going to get you just to rock your weight forwards and backwards from your heels to your toes, and then find that nice mid position where you're centered into your feet. You'll lock your knees out and then you'll release them. So I want your knees nice and straight, but they're not completely locked. And then hands onto hips. We'll pretend our hips are our bucket of water. We'll tip our water out through the front of the bucket, out through the back of the bucket. And just going both directions, making sure it's just the pelvis doing the movement and that your ribs and your knees stay nice and still. Find that nice mid position there and keep your hips nice and centered. We'll then just go for a few shoulder rolls around. So I want you to really pick up your shoulders all the way to your ears and then back around and down. And then just allow your shoulder blades just to melt towards the floor, nice and heavy, keeping your collarbones open as if they're smiling to the front of the room. And then a few head nods, so we'll just look down and then lift up, just a small movement of the chin going up and down. And then find a point where your chin is level to the floor, it's in the mid position, and your neck feels nice and relaxed here. From here we're going to go into your footwork series. So we'll bend into our knees, imagine that we're sliding our back down an imaginary wall. Float the arms up and forwards, keeping the shoulders relaxed, and then lift up the heels nice and high. Then you'll straighten your legs and then you'll lower the heels and go back to your start position. So down into the knees, float the arms up with the heels, straighten the knees, and then lower the heels back down. We'll continue through this movement. What I want you to send your focus to is a few things. So firstly, being your ankle range, we go as low as we can, keeping our heels down. Then we lift our heels as high as they'll go. We're focusing on pushing our heels forwards and not out to the sides. You're not letting your ankles sickle, as we call it. We drop down into both feet equally, so you're not putting more weight through one side than the other. So you go straight down the middle with your tailbone. And then another thing that you're looking for is pelvic stability. So if you imagine that I've got car headlight beams on my hips, I want my beams to stay pointing forwards and they don't tip up or down. This means our spine stays nice and long in neutral, and you're not bringing your shoulders forwards over your pelvis. You're keeping your shoulders right over the top. So as if we're just sliding down an imaginary wall and then keeping that movement going. We'll go for one more here and then we'll reverse the direction. So from here, take the arms out, go up to tiptoes, bend into your knees, then roll the heels back without moving the pelvis, and then come back up through to a standing position. So we're going to continue through our footwork series here in reverse. You're focusing on getting as much movement into the ankles as possible. Keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed. So the arms will float around, but we won't be bringing the shoulders up towards the ears. Loads of movement here into the ankles, so we're getting a stretch into our calves and our Achilles a little bit, but we're also working them to lift us. Last one in this direction, and then relax, and then we're going to go out into second position, do the same again. So toes are turned out nice and wide now, knees are turned out also, so you're opening through your hips. Hands can stay on hips to begin with. We'll bend into our knees. We'll just go for 5 here in our second position. So we're just warming up, getting that turn out of the knees, dropping the hips straight down towards the floor. And then when you're ready from here, going down and holding it, then rolling up with the heels, lifting into straight legs and then lowering the heels back down. So we'll continue. We're keeping a nice long spine, so there's no changes. I'm not leaning forwards, I'm not arching my back and sending my tailbone backwards. I'm just sending my sitting bones straight down to the floor as I continue with the footwork series. We'll go for one more here and then we're going to change direction. So after this one, we go up to tiptoes, bend into the knees, lower the heels down and then squeeze back up, and then continue through there. We'll go for 2 more. last one. And then relax from there. Now I'm going to take you into a tightrope stand, so one foot in front of the other. Make sure you're standing nice and tall. We're going to bring our hands into a prayer position, and then I'm going to get you to close your eyes. It's always extra difficult, especially as you bring your hands into prayer position. We can't be using our arms for stability here. And then opening your eyes, and we'll change over to the opposite lead leg. So swapping over your front and back leg. Find that nice mid position where you're in between the two, hands into prayer position, and then closing your eyes, staying nice and soft into your ankles. Allow them to wobble, let the knees absorb it, stay nice and sturdy through the pelvis and the spine. And then opening your eyes from there. Now we're going into one leg balance. So you're going to stand onto the one leg, you're going to think about your hip hitching muscles, you're going to squeeze your bottom on your standing leg to lift up through the pelvis. Then from here we're just going to dip into our knee first of all, and then come back up. So as you're dipping into your knee with these knee dips, I want you to think of sending sitting bones straight down to the floor, and we're not leaning forwards through the body, we're staying upright from here. Then when you're ready, we're going to start doing some reaches. So I'm going to reach forwards with my free leg as I dip my knee down. Then I lift up nice and straight to take the knee up. Now I'm going to reach back and slide the toe behind me as far as I can as I dip into my knee. And then rise back through. So we're going to be reaching forwards and then reaching backwards. The hard part here is keeping your sitting bones pointing straight down to the floor, and then watching that your pelvis stays level. So especially as I dip forwards with my toe, I want to drop this hip, so you've got to keep it nice and level as you reach through, and that your standing knee stays forwards. And we do want to make sure that we don't go too low, because I don't want to put too much pressure through the standing knee as you're doing this one. One more each way, and then we'll change legs. So when you're ready, swapping over your standing leg. Make sure your hip hitching muscles are switched on, and then bending into the knee. We'll just go for the knee dips first of all. So just bending through the knee. So dropping down, sending the sitting bones to the floor, focusing on keeping our posture throughout. The knee goes forwards and it doesn't start to wobble in or out. And then as you're ready from here, reaching forwards, coming back through, and then reaching back with the leg. So the free leg is going to the front and then to the back. We're keeping our pelvis as level as you can keep it. You should be feeling your bottom muscles on this standing leg having to work. We are going to go for one more each side now. One more to the front, last one to the back, and then coming back through and relaxing the legs a little bit there. Now we're going to go into your roll down series. We're going to roll all the way down and come to a hands and knees position. So I'm going to go to the end of my mat for this one. So again, resetting your position so you're centered with your weight over the middle of your feet. Your pelvis is centered. We'll roll the shoulders back and around, lift the sternum high, and then bring your chin to your chest. And then slowly, one vertebra at a time, rolling all the way down, nice and heavy. When you get to the bottom, take a deep breath in and out. Into some pendulum swings next. So allowing your pelvis to sway left and right here. And then coming back into the middle. And then when you're ready, rolling back up. So we'll tuck the tailbone under, roll the pelvis all the way back, and then restack one vertebra at a time. A couple of shoulder rolls at the top, and then off we go again. So chin to chest, slowly curling forwards. I'm lifting my abdominals, hollowing through my lower back as much as I can. And then again, when I get to the bottom, I go nice and floppy like a rag doll and into my pendulum swings. I'm allowing my pelvis just to do this almost like a tail wag, and my body just goes along for the ride. So you're really floppy with the upper body, and the neck is nice and relaxed, the head's just dangling. Come back to center one more time. And then slowly rolling back up, squeezing your bottom muscles, tucking the tailbone under, keep the spine nice and relaxed. Once the pelvis is back, just restack one vertebra at a time. Last one now, and then we're going to walk it out in front of us. So tucking the chin into the chest, rounding, rolling all the way through. Then when you're ready, bring your hands to the floor. Walk your hands straight out, keep your legs nice and straight, and we go straight out into a plank position. So middle finger is pointing forwards, hands are spread wide. Our hands are underneath our shoulders, our toes are in line with our pelvis. And when you're ready from here, you can do a little tuck of the tailbone and then release. So I want a nice long spine position. All I'm going to do is warm up through your abs by thinking of pulling pubic bone to navel, tightening. You should feel a little bit of a judder in the tummy muscles as they work really hard here. So I call it tremble mojo here. So you should get a bit of tremble mojo as you do your tuck. And what I want you to focus on is as you're tucking, making sure you're not rounding through the middle of the back. So we're not making it a angry cat shape. We're keeping a nice long neck, shoulders and spine. We've got a strong position. One more tuck here. Then we're going to hold it in the tuck position. We're going to maintain it. We're going to go in for leg pull. You're going to reach one leg up, lower back down, change to the opposite side. Now as you're doing this, what I want you to think about is the length with that foot as well as the lift. So focus on pulling your leg away, hence the name leg pull, and making sure that we're not arching our back and losing that tuck as we lift the leg. So it should be the bottom muscles doing the lift, and the abdominal muscles are still working to give us that tuck so we protect our lower back. Check you're not changing your neck, shoulder and mid-back position. You're not rounding as you tire. If you do come out of the position, go into a quick child's pose. We'll go for one more here and then we can rest. Now push into child's pose. So knees nice and wide, push the bottom back to the heels and drop forwards through your upper body and just relax into the mat. Now rolling all the way back up. We're now going to change position and we're going to go into a seated position, so you'll roll around now. And from here we're going to go into some roll downs. So coming up really tall, lifting our chest, float the arms up, shoulders back and around. From here I want you to just go into a nice tailbone tuck, find that C-shaped curve into the lower back and then curl forward. So it's a really, really small movement into this half roll down. And we'll start to take it just a tiny bit further now. So rolling through, going 3/4 of the way, and then curling back up, lifting and lengthening, and again, rolling through, trying to tuck the tailbone as much as you can. If you get lower back pain with this exercise, what I would get you to do is just hold on to the back of your legs, but otherwise we'll continue without the aid of your arms. You'll go as low as you feel you can here, keeping this lovely C-shaped curve and control. We're going to lower down that way all the way to that 3/4 point. Again, hold it here. We're now going to float the arms up and then press them down. So exhale up, inhale, lower, exhale up, inhale, lower. You should be feeling that disco belly. We're going to keep the presses going, go for 4 more. Last one. And then rolling all the way back up. Straighten your legs out now. Your legs are going to be nice and straight. If you need a block underneath you to lift you up, you can do a cushion. So I want you to make sure you can hold this position. Roll the shoulders back and round. Float the arms forwards. We're going into spine stretch. So we're going to tuck the chin to your chest. Slowly start to curl forward through the crown of the head, reaching the arms through. At the same time, scoop your abdominals back. You're pulling your belly button into the spine. And imagine that you're sat up against a wall as you re-stack to the wall. And then what I want you to think about is keeping your tummy pressed into this imaginary wall here. So then when you're ready, tuck the chin to the chest. slowly scooping forwards, reaching through, pulling forwards through the hands and the crown of the head, and pulling back through the belly button. Get that nice curl through the spine. And then slowly restacking, nice and tall. Just going in for 3 more here with your spine stretched forwards. Getting a nice reach through the hands as far as you can. Imagine someone's got your hands, they're pulling them. Still scooping tight into the tummy muscles, keeping the legs nice and straight, relaxing the shoulders. And we've got 1 more here. And then coming all the way up to a seated position. Now we're going to go to your side, and we're going to go into what I call the grape eating position. So imagine that we're posing for a nice portrait, life portrait. So we're holding our grapes, and we've got our top leg crossed in front of the bottom leg here. Our hand is going to be a little bit in front of us on our supporting hand, because we're going to push through the legs, straighten legs, and lift into a side plank, so our shoulder wants to go over the top of our wrist. So your wrist is in front of you now. So from here, when you're ready, you're going to push down into the feet. Imagine you're pushing your hips straight up and over, and then take the top arm right up to the ceiling. Then when you're ready, we'll bend back into the knees, and we'll lower back down into our starting pose, our grape eating position. So when you're ready, pushing through, up into side plank, and then lowering back down. Now we're just going to warm up, so we'll do another 3 of these. And what I want you to be focused on is your shoulder pushing down, lifting the waist up. So when you're ready, again, pushing up into it, lift the waist, keep the shoulder away from the ears. You're strong into that supporting shoulder. We've got 2 more here now. This is a little bit of a warm up. Check you can keep the balance. Last one. All the way up, and then release. Now we've done 5 of those. We're now going to go into our side twist, which is a very challenging one for this supportive shoulder. So if you're struggling with that last one, you can either stay in a side plank onto your elbow, or you can go back up into these, or we can progress it onto our full side twist. So from here, you push all the way up into our nice side plank. You're going to keep this as your start position. You're going to take a breath out, and at the same time, you're going to thread the needle with this hand, lift the hips up high like a down dog, and push back, reaching towards your opposite ankle. And then we open back out on an inhale, and then exhale, twist. Inhale, open. Exhale, twist. Inhale, open. 2 more. And open. Last one. Open. And relax. Well done, that was quite a hard exercise. We'll repeat the same sequence over to the other side. So swiveling your legs round. Crossing the top ankle forwards over the bottom ankle. Having the hand a little bit in front of you, because you're going to push out over the top of it. Our other hand is going to reach out into our grape eating position, and then when you're ready from there, getting a nice push into side plank. And then bending the knees, releasing the hips back down. And again, push. Now we're focusing on lifting our waist, pulling our shoulder away from our ears on that supporting arm here. We have got 3 more here. Inhale, lower. Exhale, up. Inhale, lower. We have 1 more. Exhale, up. Inhale, lower. Now we're going to go into our side twist. So as I mentioned before, you can stay at the same level, you can go down to a side plank, whatever works for you. So when you're ready, we go up into side plank position. Holding here, take a breath in to prepare, breathing out. Thread the needle, bring the hand through towards the opposite ankle, lifting the hips as high as you can. And then opening back out, inhale. Exhale, push through, strong through our supporting arm. Inhale, open. 3 more. Exhale, through. Inhale, open. We have got one more. Last one. Open back and relax and take a deserved rest. Now I'm going to bring you into a sideline position again. I'm just going to swap over. We're going to lower all the way down now, and then take your folded towel or your little cushion and pop it underneath your head. Arm can be straight out. Both legs will be straight here, so we're going to reach nice and long. You're going to send the top hip away, create what I call a little mouse house underneath your waist. Keep the top hand on the hip for a little bit of feedback as to what the hip's doing. And we're going to make sure we stay balanced on our side. We're going to lift the top leg up to hip height, turn the knee slightly in, lengthen it away, and then we're lifting and lowering. So it's just a small lift and lower here. We're focusing on your waist. We keep it long. We make sure we're not letting the hip come up to the rib. And then we're also making sure that we've pulled in through the abs. So it's almost like you're tucking, so you're flattening through your lower back. So a nice little lift and lower, making sure we go back to hip height and then straight back up again. As we're keeping the hip nice and still, it's not a really big movement into abduction this, it's actually smaller than you think. So making sure pelvic stability is more important than range and going really, really far. Then from here, we'll bend the bottom knee slightly and we'll go into circles. So nice circles, again, making sure the pelvis stays still. We're not arching our back and sending our tailbone behind us. We want to imagine that we're flattening our lower back into an imaginary wall that we're lying against. So we're keeping the abs pulled in the whole time. We're still not hitching the hip also. Then when you're ready, we'll change direction. We'll go the opposite way. Sweeping those circles around, keeping pelvic stability. We'll go for 4 more circles. Last circle round, and then rest. Give it a little pat and a rub there. And then we're going to change over to the opposite side. So when you're ready, reset yourself up. Legs straight out. Bottom arm is straight out. And then you're supporting your head with a little cushion here. Bottom shoulder is down, so it's stacked under this shoulder as well. Hand goes onto hip. We tuck the tailbone, we lengthen the hip away, lift the leg to hip height, turn the knee in slightly, and then off you go from there into your little lift and lower. So again, we're looking at that pelvic stability always. So you're lifting as high as you can without letting the hip pull up towards the rib. You're thinking of lifting through your lower waist as you do this one. So pelvic stability is more important than range. And then into circles. So we're going to bend the bottom knee a little bit and then circle round. Nice circles here. Keep the pelvis nice and still, always tightening through the abs. Exactly the same as you did on the last side. And then we're going to change direction. So reverse it. Keep the pelvis nice and still. Last 2. And then rest. Give it a nice pat and a rub if you need to. And now we're going to roll over into your back next. Okay, we're on to the fun stuff now. So going into your abdominals. So bring your hands behind your head into little fingers, cup the back of the head. Pull your elbows up to your periphery and shoulders away from your ears. I'm going to get you to keep a neutral pelvic position, so you could do a couple of pelvic tilts. Find that nice mid position. And then when you're ready from there, we're going to go into your abdo prep. So take a nice breath in, nice and wide into the ribs. And then as you breathe out, imagine you're blowing a candle out as we curl up. Inhale, lower back down. So exhaling to come up. Inhale, release. And then exhale up. So what I want you to focus on as you're doing your abdo prep is keeping the neck nice and relaxed. So the head's just going along for the ride. Your arms and your shoulder blades are really connecting and engaging to take the weight of the head here. And then we're making sure that as you curl up, you feel the back of your rib cage rounding into the mat. So we're getting that lovely curl through the middle of your spine. At the same time, your lower back stays relaxed. It's not flattening into the mat. You've got that little curve throughout. We're also focusing on the pelvis staying nice and still. And then as you get to the top of the movement, you can start to add in a pelvic floor squeeze. So marching down for a wee, hold that in at the top and then release. And then again, giving that pelvic floor squeeze up. And we're checking that as we do our pelvic floor squeeze, we're not tilting the pelvis stays still. It's just a very internal sensation of lifting the pelvic floor. We're now going to continue this with a flat back position, so your tilt and imprint, and legs up into double tabletop. So folding the knees up into tabletop, keep the back nice and flat, and then you're curling up. The ideal is to maintain the knees staying nice and still. So you're constantly working to keep your imprint so that you keep your pelvis nice and steady, so the knees aren't moving forwards and backwards or juddering as you're doing this. So pretend you've got a hot brew on top of the knees. Keep that nice and still. Make sure you're not pulling up with your neck. So it's all coming from the mid-back. Those upper abdominals are working nice and hard. We'll go for 3 more here. Still breathing out to come up. Last one. Inhale, lower. And then just take a little rest. You'll pull your knees into your chest for a second. We're now going to take it into crisscross. So flat back still. Legs up to double tabletop. Hands behind the head. When you're ready, you curl up, and then as you're breathing out, you're going to stretch one leg away and twist the stationary knee. Fold it back in, take your time. Exhale to the other side. Bring it back in on the inhale, stay curled up. Exhale, twist. Inhale, back through to center. Exhale, twist. Inhale, bring it back through. Keeping our pelvis nice and steady, so there's no shift to the left and the right side of the hips as you twist. The shift just happens in the rotation of the upper back. See how long you can stretch that leg away. Reach through it, push through the leg. One more each side. Last one each way. And then fold it back in. Give yourself a little hug there, a little rest. And then now we're going to go back into similar start position for the crisscross, but we're going to have straight legs. So you're going to straighten your legs straight up and nice flat back position. You're going to scoop up with the abs. We're now going to do the same thing but with straight legs, and then we're going to twist, so we're going to be scissoring at the same time. So exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. And think of it a bit like a leg pull. See how high you can take this leg as it comes back through. We're keeping our hips nice and steady. And then resting, folding the knees all the way back in. Give your knees a gentle hug once more. Now we're going to take it into a double leg stretch, but with an abdo prep curl up still. Into chest. Hands go behind the head. At the same time as curling up, I'm going to stretch both legs away, keeping my back scooped in and flat, so hollow the abs before you even go anywhere. Take a breath in. And then as you breathe out, curl up, reach both legs away. Inhale, fold it back in. Inhale, back in. Take the legs as low as you can control now without feeling your back working, so you're still using the abs. I want some push through the legs, like you're pushing something away. Nice tight curl up using those upper abdominals to help you scoop through the abs. Last one. And then bring the knees back into the chest. Give them a little hug. We are now going to start to work into our teaser series, where we're going to start with a rolling like a ball exercise to get into our back. So when you're ready, you can straighten both legs out, take the arms overhead. We'll do a big curl up to come through. Nice breath in, breathing out, rolling all the way up, lifting nice and tall. Now when you're ready for your rolling like a ball exercise, you're going to just roll back onto your sitting bones, round the back, grab the outside of the ankles, lift the chest nice and tall. You'll get the tuck and the scoop through the abs, rolling back onto your back and then coming all the way through. Ideally keeping the toes just off in between. So scooping into the abs, rolling back one vertebra at a time, back through, keeping the control as you come back up. And I want you to try and really round into your lower back as you do this. So you can give your lower back a nice massage. Last one. And then coming all the way back through. And now we're going to take it into teaser. So again, sitting nice and tall on the sitting bones, we roll back. To begin with, we're going to go in for a prep. So you hold the back of your thighs, you're balanced. We're going to stretch both legs and then bend the knees. And then stretch and bend. So just a nice little warm up here for your teaser. Last one. And then release. Now we'll roll all the way back down onto the mat. And then when you're ready from here, I'm going to get you to take your legs up to a double tabletop start position. Glue the knees and ankles together. Arms are going to reach overhead. Take a breath in to prepare. As you're breathing out, roll up to your sitting bones. Straighten the arms, straighten legs into parallel. Then bend the knees and then roll all the way back down to your start position. Now, as we go through this, I want you to get the transition a little bit smoother from the curl up through to your end position. So you can take your time as you roll back down. Take a lovely breath in to prepare. Breathing out. And then inhale. Nice breath in, relax onto the floor, prepare yourself. Last one. And holding it. Now from here, keeping the body nice and still, lower the legs, lift the arms and press them together. And then rest. And then you can relax from there. So just drop forwards into a nice stretch here. And then slowly rolling all the way back up. Now from here we're going to go into a sideline position again and work a little bit more through your obliques. So we'll start with your side jackknife. So legs will go straight out, stacked. Your bottom arm's going to reach out in front of you, and then from there the top hand can just go behind the head. To begin with, we'll start just by lifting up through the upper body. You'll press down into your elbow and then lower all the way back down, and then we'll add the legs in. So now lifting both of your legs up at the same time and then slowly lowering back through. So coming up and slowly release. Try and get the legs and the upper body to move at the same time. Make sure you've not rocked back on your hip, so you're keeping your hips nice and level. You shouldn't feel this into your back. If you do, think of pulling in those springs a little bit more. And we're gonna go for 4 more. And last one. And then taking a little rest. Now we're going to go out to our teaser twist next. So with this exercise, you cross your ankles one on top of the other. This top arm is going to go overhead and we're inside lying here. Then what's going to happen is we are going to come all the way up to a teaser, so we'll twist. So you'll push into this bottom hand, push down into it, lift the legs up, reach towards your feet. And then we lower back down. We roll back to the side of our hip into the straight line position again. So rolling back onto the hip, come up to teaser. And then rolling over to the side of our hip into side lying position. And then rolling back, coming up to teaser. This is your teaser. We can push into the hand, come all the way through. Let's go for one more. This is a nice challenge. And then release. Well done. We change to the opposite side now. So you'll swivel around the other way. Let's take this through. Straighten both your legs out. We're going to the sideline jackknife first. So your bottom arm straight out in front of you, top hand behind the head. The first part of the movement is we come all the way up with the upper body and then we lower back down. Then we add the legs in. So when you're ready, you're going to lift the legs up and then lower everything together. Make sure you're stacked on your hips, you're not rolling backwards onto them. And then we've got 3 more. Last one. And then a release. And then we have your teaser with a twist. So again, you're going to cross the ankles, one on top of the other. You can take the arm straight overhead. You're then going to come up to your teaser, pushing down into your arm, lifting up towards your legs, pushing into this bottom arm. And then we roll to the side of the hip into a straight line, so you have to balance. And then rolling back onto the hip as we come through. And then opening back to the side. We are going to go for one more. And then release all the way back down. Well done. Now you can roll to your back and we'll just finish off with some stretches. So from here, you'll bring your knees and your ankles together. And then we're just going to let our pelvis just fold left to right. Just getting an easy waist stretch here. We have one more each side. And then bring one knee into your chest, slide the other leg away and try and push the back of the knee down and try and open through your hip flexor as much as you can. And just breathe nice and heavy. And then sliding back through, changing over to the other side. And then releasing. We're now going to roll over onto our tummy next. So you can come all the way around. Forehead can be down into your cushion. And then from here, hands go into your W shape, we're going to go up into your swan. So wherever you prefer for your hands, as high or as low as you want your hands, depending on your flexibility. You're going to push your pubic bone down into the mat, and then when you're ready, we're going to just float the forehead up, slowly open through the upper back, keep the neck nice and long. So you always imagine you're holding a peach, keep that peach there. Now I'm going to push down into my elbows, push my shoulder blades down while I try and lift the chest a little bit more. And then slowly come all the way up into your swan pose. And then we'll slowly bend through the elbows and relax all the way, stretching the spine forwards over the mat. I'm going to take you for one more swan. And then after this next swan pose, I'm going to give you the choice of continuing with swan stretch here as we're doing, keeping the chest lifted, shoulder blades down, or going into a bit of an advanced movement with a swan dive, the traditional swan dive. If you suffer with any low back conditions or osteoporosis or osteopenia, I wouldn't do this next exercise, just stay with swan. But if you're fit and healthy and want to give it a go, feel free to. We're going to go back up into your swan pose. Coming all the way back up. Shoulders are down. We're now going to lift the legs and straighten out through the legs, so point the toes, lift the chest up. The most important thing here is that you never drop your head. So you're going to keep your head lifted the whole time. I'm just going to show you slowly to begin with. We're going to roll forwards, and as we lower the body, the legs are going to lift, and then we'll lift the hands away. And then we're going to push all the way back up. So slowly lowering with the arms, keep this lift through the chest, lift the legs, and then come back through. Now if that's feeling okay, we'll continue. So from here, it's going to be quite a dynamic movement, lots of rocking. So from there, you're going to slowly release and then lift, slowly release and lift. And then if that's feeling okay, we'll go for the full swan dive, where we release the arms forwards. So from here, release forwards and come back up, forwards and come back up. And if that's still feeling okay, we'll continue the arms forwards, and we're going to be rocking forwards and backwards through the body. So keep this lovely lift. When you're ready, release, come up. So legs and arms are going opposites. And then release and roll all the way back down, and we'll push back into child's pose. So bend the knees and the hips back over the heels and relax the torso forwards, and take a nice few breaths here just to relax your spine. And then we're going to finish with a nice cat stretch. So we're coming up into hands and knees. Wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath the hips. When you're ready from there, tucking tailbone under, rounding into your back as much as you can. And then releasing, rolling away, opening into your happy cat pose. We don't need to do too much happy cat because we've done quite a lot of extension work with your swan dive. And then releasing to happy cat once more. And then we're going to continue our angry cats, but in a 10 and 2 o'clock position. So you'll walk your hands over to one side. Keep the hips square over the knees so the hips haven't followed you. And then rounding into angry cat here. Hold a stretch. Feel a little bit more stretch into your waist. Now, like a child's pose, send your bottom back towards your heels, keeping your hands here. Get a nice big reach through that side, open through the ribs, open through the waist. Come back through the hips over the knees, and then walk it around to the other side. So take your hands over, round into angry cats, hold the pose, pull in tight through the abdominals, feel the stretch into your waist, make sure your pelvis hasn't followed your shoulders, that it's over the knees, and then send your bottom back towards your heels and feel that lovely waist stretch here. And then come all the way through, walk the hands back into the middle, roll all the way back up into a kneeling position, and then you can relax. You are finished. Well done.